Everybody, this is Lyn from Lyn's Crafts. I'm going to show you today how to go about making a dragon's claw pendant. I've got a little bit of black Primo, probably half a bar, and a little bit of Opal Primo accents, again half a bar. I'm gonna roll this out into a sort of snake shape. Say that 3 times fast. Alright. With a little point at the end. Alright, and because of dragon's claw, theoretically, isn't like a tooth. It's not going to be round. It's going to be like your dog's claw or a cat claw. It's going to be flat. Flatter. Alright, with a bit of a curve to it. Now I've just got my color shaper. You can use your finger, the end of a paintbrush would work, but I'm gonna give it an indent. It doesn't need to go necessarily all the way to the tip. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Alright. Alright. Then I'm going to condition the opal and run it through my pasta machine on a relatively thin setting. I'm going to do it maybe on a 2, which on my pasta machine is the next to the thinnest setting. On yours it may be a 9, which case you would use an 8. Alright, so I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Completely ignore what I just said. On my pasta machine, it's an 8. On yours, it may be a 2. I rarely change the setting on mine, so. I've got some alcohol inks here. This one is the citrus. Yep. Sailboat blue. This one is a purple. It's an Adirondack and it doesn't say what it is. And this one is the watermelon. Alright, I'm just gonna, first of all, I've got a little bit of 91% alcohol in this bottle, and I'm just gonna spritz the top of that opal clay. That's going to allow the alcohol inks to spread. And not just sit in one spot. Then I'll take the sailboat blue. And as you can see, the alcohol is beginning to dry. So I'm just going to spritz it again. Alright, then with the watermelon. and once again with the alcohol. I'm not sure why this isn't wanting to spread like I want it to. So I'm just going to take a paintbrush. You don't want to really mix it around too much because you'll make mud. And I don't want to make mud. Alright, that's about good. Now, the important thing at this point is to let it dry. Let it dry for a few minutes. You want all the alcohol to be evaporated. All the liquid to be evaporated. Alright, so I'm going to let it dry and then I'll be right back. Okay, it's dried now. I've got it off my glass. And as you can see, some of the alcohol ink has come through on the other side, which is fine. Alright? What I want to do now is see if I can roll it just a bit thinner without putting it through my pasta machine again. Alright, and of course it did make a bit of a mess on my acrylic roller, but it will wipe right off. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some of this opalescent texture to the tip of the dragon's claw. But I want to pick a spot where I'm going to get a bit of every color, which I admit is going to be a bit difficult. Alright, so I'm going to go wider than I expected to need. And this opal clay is a little difficult to cut because of the flakes of glitter in it. Alright, and save the extra bits because we'll do something else with those. Alright. Okay. Alright, we're just going to wrap the claw with this opal clay. And I'm going to tear off a bit because I've got more than I need. once again, I'm going to redefine that groove. On both sides. On this side, it will help to hide that seam. Alright. Now at this point we'll want to bake it. I'm going to bake it at 270 for 40 minutes. And I've got an oven thermometer inside my oven. I bake in a Pyrex dish filled with a bed of polyfill. 100% pure polyfill. The kind of stuffing you stuffed animals with. It won't burn. I've had the same bit of polyfill in my oven literally for years. Occasionally I'll lift it out of the Pyrex dish, dump the glitter out because it does accumulate in the bottom sometimes, and stick the same bit of polyfill right back in there. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do. Occasionally some of the hairs will stick to the polymerclay, and I don't mean stick like they're embedded in there and you can't get them out. They just kind of stick with static cling a little bit. They're really easy to remove, so no worries there. Alright, but I'm actually going to bake this on a little square of cardstock if I could find it. I'm going to do that and bake it, and then I'll be back. While that's baking, I'm going to show you what I would do with the scraps. I've just got a scrap piece of, it happens to be brown Primo. That, as we know, is a little dried out because I leave it on my desk. So just roll it into a ball, then flatten it down to a cabochon. A cabochon mold, by all means, you can use that. I've got a stamping block. You can also use a spoon to smooth the surface with. Alright, just whatever you use to smooth the top out. Alright, then I'm going to get a ceramic towel. And again, just decide where you think the best color combo is. Okay. You can either fold it over on the back, you can trim it, whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel like doing. More than likely, this piece will be used and I'll make a clay bezel for it. Alright, so that's how you can use up your scraps. You can do it on white, you can do it on black, you can do it on just about any color. After you sand it and buff it, some of the background color will show through. So I'm going to do a white piece just so we can see the difference. Now my white is much nicer, much fresher. It was the last color that I bought. Alright, and it's not clean because I'm working with alcohol inks and I'm getting it on the clay, but you won't see that. All you'll see is the sparkly opal finish. Alright, you can see this one has a lot more of the red and purple and only a bit of the green and a tiny bit of the blue. Whereas this one is going to have a lot of the blue. Very little of the green, very little of the purple, but still quite a bit of the red. Oh, so sorry. Alright, again, I'll bake these at the same 270 for 40 minutes. And I'll be back. Okay, this is my setup for hand sanding on polymer clay, which I usually do on things like cabochons and things that have a more rounded shape. I do have a sanding attachment on my Dremel that I'll use on flatter pieces, but I'm going to show you this hand sanding method using, this is micro mesh, and I just got it off of eBay. This is a list of the grits from fine to coarse, coarse being 1500, which is really rather fine. Alright, so I just keep this so that I'll remember because it's not listed on the individual pads themselves. They're just little double-sided sanding foam pads. Alright, I've got a tub of water with just a drop of dish soap in it. Alright, 1500 is the rust color, which is what I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to dip the pad into the water. As opposed to dipping the piece in the water, which I could do as well. Alright. Now, the opal polymer clay will have quite a few bits of the glitter that stick up, which at first is going to be what you're sanding off. Alright, I would just sand, and I wouldn't go through every grit. I would skip. I'd probably go from the 1500 to maybe the 2400, which is 1800 would be the next grit. Alright. So I'm just working in a kind of rounded motion, although it looks like I'm just going back and forth. It's really small circles. Alright, and I'll continue to do this on through to the 12,000. I'll try to add a link to where I bought the micro mesh from. It's just off of eBay, but it'll be in the description box below. Right. And you really don't want to store your sanding pads in the water. You want to just fan them out, store them on top, let them dry out. If you try to store them in the water, you risk the sanding surface actually coming away from the foam. Alright, I've just got, this is actually just a dinner napkin. It's a cloth, probably cotton. It's a blend. And I'm just going to clean off any of the residual sanding powder that's left behind, along with the polymer clay that's left behind. Alright. Alright, next I'm going to buff and polish the piece on my bench buffer, which is well outside my camera's range. So I won't be showing you that, but I'll be back to show you what it looks like once it's done. Okay, before I show you the claw, I just wanted to share with you how the two cabochons came out. This is the one that I put on the white. This is the one on the black. So you can tell they're really quite different. So they'll be different depending on what you use as a base. Alright? Alright, here it is after just the sanding and buffing. Doesn't have any glaze on it at all. Alright, I hope you can see just the amount of shine you can bring up just by the sanding and buffing. Alright, so all that's left is to drill a hole. I normally drill my holes first, but I wasn't sure whether I would want to make a cap for the piece or to just drill a hole. So that's why I didn't do it ahead of time. Alright, but I've decided to just drill a hole. I really like the way this piece came out. Alright. There you go. Dragon's Claw. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye now.